Hello, welcome back to another episode of Coffee with a Kick. We are here to preview Matchday 33 coming up this weekend. How you feeling today, Keegan?
Feeling good. Nice and sunny here in Nashville.
Yeah.
Got a little time outside. Vitamin D always brings up the mood. And hey, we've been doing pretty decently for picks as of late. So I feel okay. Comparatively to how we were, I mean, we're back in the green, at least in some parts. So
listen, 0.07 units is in the green. That is in the green. That was me. So
margins, safe margins.
I am in positive units for the season. So, that's always the goal. It's always the goal.
Oh, yeah.
Can't say the same for the favorites. So, listen, I've beaten the favorites by like 55 units. You're just beating them by 112. So, that's all.
Nice.
That's all. Just that much better. If you had in Champions League, it's a little bit better for me, but not that much better. Not that much better. But we'll go ahead and start off with the Champions League before we get there. Just real quick. I mean, there are only 4 matches, and they kind of went, well, at least mostly how you expected them to go. Aston Villa did end up winning, but not by enough to make up the difference. So they have been eliminated. Still a good match. I mean, 3-2 is certainly an exciting one. But PSG sort of was able to... they had all that momentum coming out of the second half. The 55th minute and 57th minute goal by McGinn and Konsa. But PSG was able to shut it down after that to maintain the 1 goal differential at that point.
Yeah, really impressive. I mean, 2 goals in 2 minutes to basically almost tie it up. And then the rest of the match, 33 plus minutes, nothing. Yeah. Aston Villa tried, would have been a great sort of story, but I feel like after that, PSG kind of decided like, hey, we're playing a little too defensive. Let's just get back to our game.
Yeah.
And then the flow kind of started again. Yeah, that one, I felt like Aston Villa would at least put up a draw. They obviously got a win. And even the other Premier League team, Arsenal. I mean, Arsenal dominated Real Madrid. Yeah. It's usually the team that at this stage gets it done, but my goodness, 5-1 aggregate over 2 legs that's a statement.
Yeah, and a win, overturning a must win at the Bernabeu is impressive. Inter hanging in there against Bayern München. If you're of the German persuasion, that one was tight as well. With the Dyer 76th minute goal really putting the pressure on, but Inter, it's hard to crack them open. Even if Bayern was able to get more than most, it didn't end up being enough. And then the yellow wall did come through for Dortmund, but as we expected, not to the extent which they needed. Losing by that much in the first leg definitely, makes it hard to come back from, and they proved it in that one. So we are set up for our Champions League semifinals in, what is it? It's in like 2 weeks, right? It's pretty quick turnaround time. Fall.
Yeah, we've got not next week, but the week after.
Yeah, 29th. We've got Arsenal PSG, which is pretty juicy, and then Barcelona and Inter. A clash of styles, I would say, for that one. And then, yeah, so we'll get to those here in the coming episodes. But now, and also Newcastle took care of, to put it nicely, their opponents there in the midweek. I know they won. My mind is blanking. It was Newcastle and Crystal Palace. That's right. Newcastle and Crystal Palace. Yeah, that one went the way we thought it would, just to a greater extent. Because we both had Newcastle winning that one. So good on those toonies. They are now up into third, 4 points out of second, and having won, wow, geez Louise, their last 4 matches, 5 matches in a row, 5-0. That is, they are cruising right now. Oh, I got to change my pick for them. Got to change my pick a little bit.
Yeah, they dominated Crystal Palace. Really uncharacteristic showing for Crystal Palace. I feel like February, March, maybe late January as well, Crystal Palace came into their own. Then you get walloped 5-0. Even if you're at St. James's Park, can't be doing that.
No.
I at least thought there was going to be a better fight. And, who knows? Maybe that'll play into the Matchday 33 picks for both of us.
It definitely did, because I made a change. They've got a trend going on since February 26th that I'm going to continue, even if it is totally ridiculous to try to pursue. But we'll move on to the picks proper to this weekend, upcoming weekend, which begins with Brentford and it is two B's, but it's Brentford and Brighton who are up first at Brighton's G-Tech Community Stadium. The Birds and the Bees, technically. This is one of the Birds and Bees ones. This one, how do you have it going between these two here?
Yeah, glad it's in Brentford. If it was in Brighton, the Birds and the Bees would be a little bit different of a talk as they do on the coast. Mm-hmm. But I think Brighton, both teams pretty even. Again, Brentford just 5 points below Brighton. A win here for Brentford would really get that top 10 push on. Yeah. But a win for Brighton obviously would keep them in the hunt for potentially Europe, starting to get away from there a little bit. But yeah, I mean, it's a bigger match for Brentford than I think Brighton as far as placing goes. If Brighton loses it, I think there's still a chance they can still potentially get up in the mix. But I think Brighton takes it 2-1. I think they've been overall better away from home. They've been in really poor form as of late in the last 4, 2 points out of 12. So I think that this is going to be the match where they're going to hopefully get it together and get a win. At least I believe so. 2-1.
Yeah, I don't think they will. I mean, neither of these teams are in very good form. Brentford's had some tough competition recently, which they've done decent against. They drew Arsenal at the Emirates last weekend, but I think that this one goes 2-2. I think that neither side comes out super happy. I guess Brighton would come out of that okay, because I think they would be giving up on Europe at that point, but they would at least have top 10 pretty well secured. I mean, we'll have to see how the rest of the season checks out, obviously, but it'll be still at 5 points with only 5 matches to go. And I haven't dug into Brighton's schedule to see what they have upcoming, but even so, that's a pretty big gap to make up in that few matches when you're not the best of teams to begin with. The only saving grace is that it's away from home for Brighton, which is so weird because they're usually historically they've been good at the Amex, but this season has been a series of stinkers for them. I don't think they get the job done away from home either in this case, though. And then we move to Crystal Palace and Bournemouth. Crystal Palace, as we just saw, was rather roundly demolished by Newcastle, but Bournemouth is not Newcastle. They are still on a bit of an upswing. I mean, they were able to beat Fulham last week and recovering after a loss to Ipswich Town, which is embarrassing. But Crystal Palace, I think that they have lost that momentum that they had for so long, and they are now going to come back. Settle into their place on the table, I think, is more appropriate to say. Not exactly fall back to earth, but 12 feels about right for them. So I do have Bournemouth winning this one 2-1.
I've got it flipped. I have Palace winning 2-1. I think after you get beat 5-0, you just really have a come to Jesus moment. I think they do that. And I'm going to go 2-1, Crystal Palace.
All right. I mean, to each his own. Yeah, they're going to have their Monty Python moment. I'm not dead yet. Not dead yet. And then we move to Everton and Crystal Palace, who I think will be dead after this one. Not Manchester City. Did I say Crystal Palace again? Everton and Manchester City. Everton has been on a peak of performance here in the past couple weeks, which is not amazing considering how their season has been. But they've only lost one out of their last, and that was against Liverpool. Out of last since January 19th, they have only lost one. Now it's been about half draws and half wins, but still, that is movement on the table. Do you think that City can continue their own recent form in this one?
I think so. I think it's 2-0. I think Everton, they've been really spotty when it comes to can they score goals, can't they score goals. City, we know, can score goals, and Everton is not a big boy in the fight. So I think eventually they'll break through, get a couple of goals. So I'm going 2-0.
2-0. I've got it as 4-1. I think City keeps on rolling. I think they're going to be playing a little bit loose. It's an odd place for City to be in because there's like not a lot of pressure on them. Like they're not. They need to perform basically just decently to try to get back up into prime Champions League performance. Prime Champions League, which Nottingham Forest is doing them all the favors by continuing having dropped 2 in a row. But it's certainly a lesser strain upon the players this season than it has been in the past 4 seasons at the very least, and even 5, going back 5. There was a bit of a gap 5 years ago though, wasn't it, when they didn't win?
Yeah,
it
was a little bit.
Yeah, so it's sort of similar to that one. A disappointing place to be, but it's sort of you can play a little bit more loose. Well, I don't know how much Pep lets you play loose, but you know what I mean. West Ham and Southampton is the next one up. I think there's not a lot to say about this one. Southampton, we know, is basically just trying not to be the worst team ever in the Premier League. I don't think they make any steps here. West Ham is catching them right when they need them because they have lost. Their last 5 is loss, draw, loss, draw, loss. I think they're going to win this one here, 2-0 over Southampton.
Yeah, same story, same gap as far as goals go. I have it 3-1. I think Southampton will get one early. I think have some hope, but then I think West Ham breaks them and ends up taking it 3-1.
3-1. Yeah, I think that one's going to be pretty cut and dry. And then to Aston Villa and Newcastle. How do you have that one going?
I have it 2-1 Aston Villa. I think this is a match where Aston Villa just played their hearts out in the Champions League, couldn't get it done. And now they got to shift their focus to, hey, we want to be back there. We don't want to drop any further. We want to make sure we're back so that we have a chance to advance further. So I think Newcastle being on really good form, this is kind of a trap game for them at Aston Villa. So I'm going to go 2-1, the Villains.
Yeah, both these teams are best forms in the league right at the moment. My Wolves are actually up there as well, to be fair. But Aston Villa 4-game winning streak. Newcastle, as we've already stated, on a 5-game winning streak. Now I'm taking this. This is a joker pick because Newcastle has scored in their past 5 games no goals, 1 goal, 2 goals, 3 goals, 4 goals, 5 goals in consecutive order. So obviously in this one it's going to be 6 goals. It's going to be 2-6. Is my pick for Aston Villa and Newcastle, which is a ridiculous pick. Absolutely astonishingly stupid. But I'm going to go swing for the fences. I'm going to swing for the fences with Newcastle. And you know what? If Emi Martinez is not going to win the Golden Glove, he's going to be annihilated. That's what I'm going for now. So Newcastle, 6 goals to Aston Villa's 2. We'll see. And stranger things have happened, I guess. Not this season. I don't know if anything stranger has happened. The 7-0 victory by Nottingham Forest back in the beginning of the season is pretty strange. I think
pretty much right after they got beat, 5-1?
Yeah, I think that's probably still stranger. But still, only one thing stranger in a whole season. I'll take that. Then to Fulham and Chelsea. Fulham hosting Chelsea, which I think does play into this a good bit. Fulham, as I covered in the last one, are pinging back and forth between wins and losses. Chelsea, for their part, has been sort of middling. They're not terrible. Their 2 draws are not good draws. A double bagel against Brentford and Chelsea and drawing Ipswichtown, not a good look. I think that Fulham continues their streak, and in this one they win it. I'm going to have it 2-0 for 2-0 for Fulham over Chelsea. in honor of Anthony Robinson being on Fulham.
Yeah. I think it'll be 1-1. Chelsea have not been in real good form unless they're playing in Europe, and even then, I think they lost to Legia Warsaw at home in the midweek. They won on aggregate. They're moving on, but I think they lost 2-1. At least that's what I saw in like the 85th minute. So, I mean, Chelsea's not the greatest team to be picking to win at this point, but I do think they get a draw, and I think Fulham and Chelsea just kind of stay where they're at in the table.
Yeah, we've sort of had a secondary truncation occur or gap occur here between 7th and 8th. The 6 points between Bournemouth and Aston Villa, probably not going to happen. So at this point, we've got 6 teams fighting for the top. We've got 5 teams fighting for the top 3 through 7 positions, which is European qualifying. They're all within what? There are more points separating 7th from 8th than there are 7th and 3rd. That's pretty tight.
Yeah.
It's pretty tight. So we'll see how that shakes out as we move to one that I don't think is going to be very close. The next 2 actually are not going to be very close. Sorry, not the next 2. Actually, yes, the next 2. The next 3 are going to not be very close. Ipswich Town versus Arsenal's first up. How much do you have Arsenal winning by?
4-0.
4-0?
4-0.
I only went 3 myself. I was going to be conservative on that. Ipswich Town. This would technically be like their last gasp, I suppose. Reasonable gasp for trying to stay up. I mean, with my Wolves running away from them now, and the goal difference just being so astronomical. I mean, it's negative 34 goal difference. You're not going to catch negative 18. Even if you did win all of the rest of your matches, you're not going to win them by that many multiples of goals. So I think that this will probably put the nail in the coffin. I don't know. Mathematically, I don't think technically quite yet. Because it would depend on if West Ham wins. But I do think they will because they're playing Southampton. So they'd be up at 38. And then it kind of depends on what happens in this next one, which is my Wolves versus Manchester United. I have my Wolves winning, obviously. Because I'm just going to pick them for the rest of the season. Unless they play somebody who's actually good. Which Manchester United is not. So 3-1 is how I have my Wolves winning on this one.
Yeah, I've got it 2-1. I'm right there with you. Go with the team in form. The team that's been not only beating bad teams, but beating good teams as well.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, yeah, Man U's kind of in shambles. In Europe, I think they had a pretty good comeback that happened. But other than that, like, too inconsistent to pick. Wolves, again, outside Newcastle, the most informed team in the league. I think they take this. They'll be tied with Man U on points. Depending on how bad it is, in reality, could catch them on goal difference. But I think just 2-1. And they've got a chance to push for top 12 if they get a win here.
Yeah. It depends on how. Well, Everton, we've picked them to lose. Tottenham we'll get to in a second. And it would help. And West Ham would be keeping pace with them based off of our other picks. And then we move to Leicester and Liverpool. How much do you have Liverpool winning by?
5-0.
5-0? Oof.
5-0.
That's tough. That's tough. 5 is only 4-1. Big conservative on this one. 4-1 for me. 5 is a lot. I did pick 6 from Newcastle, but they've got a trend going on. And then to wrap up the week on Monday, the weekend on Monday, we've got another Tottenham versus Nottingham. Again, boy, they still don't trust Nottinghamforest. Whoever the people I use to place odds, because Tottenham not good. They are 15th. They have not shown themselves to have recovered in quality. They recovered enough just so Postecoglou could keep his job. Basically, is what happened. They won those 3 in a row back in February, and then since then they've only won 1 since. So, right when we were like, Postecoglou's got to go because they lost what? They lost 6 out of 7, won 3 in a row, and now they've lost 4 out of 6. And
yeah,
I mean, they're right back in the position where they were. The only saving grace is that Ipswich Town has not gotten any points. Like, they're not actually in threat of being relegated, but it's not a good position in which to be. I've got them losing 4-1 is what I have. I think Nottingham picks it back up. They've lost 2 in a row. They know that they can't afford to lose too many more points with how congested it is there from 3 to 7. So I think they pick it up here, and Tottenham just kind of rolls over and takes it 4-1.
Yeah, I'm right there with you about the whole Tottenham thing, about, the form. I don't think they're still in Europe either. But yeah, I mean, we really thought, for probably a solid 2 months there, we said Postecoglou should be fired.
Yeah.
I think this one's just going to be a goal fest. I have it 4-4. I just think both these teams are looking for something that is just not there for them anymore. That may have been there 2 months ago, and they're going to be looking for form, play a little bit more open. I even dabbled with the double bagel. I was like, it's either going to be a lot of goals or no goals, probably somewhere in between. But I'm going 4-4 because, again, Nottingham, they're in 4th now. City is pressing up.
Yeah.
Chelsea and Aston Villa are pressing up. So you're seeing how Nottingham's going to get desperate here pretty quick, and I think they're going to start to, unfortunately, kind of dip out of their normal style of play just to try and force something. But it's Tottenham, so I can't give Tottenham to win. So right. 4-4.
4-4. Listen, I'm down for it. I'll take that. But that does bring us to the end of Matchday 33. There will be 2 midweek matches. Do you want to cover those now, just so we have them in the bag, or leave those for Monday, or our next recording at least?
Dude, I say we just hit them now.
All right, bonus pick time then.
Bonus picks.
Tuesday and Wednesday. First one up is Manchester City and Aston Villa. I do not have a pick for this yet. I don't have the units for it either. But I think, this one might actually be pretty good. It is at the Etihad. I'm going to say this one's 2-2. I'm just going to, I'm going to say 3-2. I'm going to go 3-2 Manchester City over Aston Villa.
Yeah, I just picked it. I think I'm going to go 4-3 City wins. Big score line. Why not? Going 4-3.
I think it makes for a very good match at this point in the season because none of them are in Europe. There's still some domestic cup stuff to play for. I think that's why it's now because Manchester City I know is still in some of those, so they're probably front loading some of the matches for them. They're both coming off of equal amounts of lack of rest, so I think this one's got the makings for a pretty good one. And then for the other one on the April 23rd, Wednesday, we've got Arsenal versus Crystal Palace at the Emirates. This one I don't think is going to be very close, but I'll let you go ahead and lead us off.
I think it'll be 2-1 Crystal Palace. I'm going to go the upset here. The throw them off, put this game midweek. Arsenal, again, they're still in the Champions League.
They are.
They're going to be only thinking about that because they know the Premier League is done. Genuinely, this match day 33, the Premier League could be done depending on what results are. So Arsenal, they're going to obviously play a lot of their good players, but I think mentally they won't be there, and Crystal Palace needs it more. So I'm going to go 2-1 upset by the Birds.
That is, I'm not going to go all the way there with you, but I will take it as a draw. I'll take it as a 1-1 draw for much of the same reason. They'll have a little bit of a break. They're in the midst of their European break, but still, it's been a lot of matches for Arsenal this season. At Crystal Palace, it has not been as many matches. We'll put it that way. It's not been as many matches for Crystal Palace. So, 1-1 for my midweek picks. That will bring us up through the midweek to our next one being a recap and preview for recap 33, preview 34 for what we got to look forward to. Not this weekend, but this weekend we've got our Newcastle Arsenal. That's Aston Villa Newcastle. That's the headliner of the week for me. And then if you really want to have some Schadenfreude, you can maybe watch my Wolves take out Manchester United. Really drive some nails in.
Mm.
All right. Anything else you want to say before we get out of here?
It's Easter Sunday. The nails were driven in on Thursday, my friend.
That's true. That's true. That is true. The nails will be released on Sunday. They were released still on Friday. Wait, Good Friday. What? Yeah. It's Good Friday is when
maybe it was Friday. Who knows?
I do. It was Good Friday. The nails were driven in. Sunday is Resurrection Day. Well, traditionally it's held as Resurrection Day. But we won't get into that in this podcast. That's for my other podcast. But that wraps up this match day and midweek. We will see you for our recaps here next week. Until then, why don't you go ahead and grab your coffee, watch some soccer, and we will see you on the other side.